Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, clap your hands, stamp your feet, and slowly rub your privates. It's the Tidy Boys, Tidy 30 podcast.
Hi, we're the Tidy Boys. What are you doing?
I think
I'm bored already.
I think that could be better.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't looking at a watch.
Yeah, I know, but I find do you know what? On a side point, these Apple Watches, they're great, but they're quite rude because you can be in a meeting or talk to somebody, and then your watch goes off and you look at your watch. And in the old days, if you looked at your watch when you were speaking to somebody, you were being rude. It was like, I'm bored.
It does tap you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it does. Yeah.
Anyway, do that again.
Right.
You can be better than that.
Hi, we're the Tidy Boys, and we're back with another podcast. I think we've done 2 so far. We had a little break because we were wore out and tired.
Yes, we did.
But we're back now, and we've been looking for a special guest. In fact, that's what's took the time, trying to find somebody really intriguing with a lot to say. And also, we're always looking for good-looking guests, aren't we, Andy?
Yes, but we got Ben this time.
But this time, unfortunately, we scoured everything.
But I'm joking.
We couldn't find a good-looking hard house DJ.
Yeah, but that's actually I'm quite personally intrigued about this. I've known Ben. Ben Stevens is our guest, by the way.
Oh yeah, Ben Stevens. You have a look at his face.
There he is.
He is.
He's beautiful. Because he's a mild-mannered hard house DJ, and I want to know more about him. I want to dig a little bit deeper about Ben Stevens.
You see, what I find about Ben is this confusion. He looks like he's going to play really soft poppy music.
Yeah, sort of like floaty house.
Yeah, but then when you go and see him and hear his set, it's dirty and hard.
Yeah, vicious circle of
Vicious
sound.
circle, of course. So yeah, we've got this juxtaposition of mixed messages from Ben Stevens. So we're gonna go right back to childbirth.
So hi Ben,
Right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So yeah, I think it'd be good to just understand where Ben Stevens came from, a little bit about you. So what do people need to know about your backstory, Ben? I don't want to go right down to the granular detail when you popped out, but what got you into Hard House? Where were you from? What's your journey to this point in a nutshell?
But I do want to know where you were born.
Yes.
Where I was born in Derby.
Derby?
in the
Now, he
Midlands.
doesn't look like a Derby person, does he?
No, he
I would have
doesn't.
never said that. I would have said Stoke.
What does a Derby person look like?
But what I'm saying
Like a
is you've
sheep.
got no Derby accent for a starter.
No, well, I've just got a Midlands accent, I would say, East Midlands. But I've not got a Leicester accent, which is...
So how long were you in Derby?
Well, I lived in Castle Donington, so where East Midlands Airport is.
Oh,
I
brilliant.
lived there till I was 18.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up there.
Do you have a team? Do you support a team?
Not
You don't
really,
like
no,
football,
you know
do you?
What? It's... I never really got into it, so I've never followed it. My children are into it.
Right.
And,
So at school then, if we go back to Derby, you're in Derby, you're at school. What, are you into any sports?
Oh yeah, I played rugby for a bit, and played hockey for a bit. I used to go sailing quite a lot, enough that I started. I bought a boat last week.
Did you?
You bought a boat?
You're quite an outdoorsy kind of guy, though, aren't you, Ben Stevens?
I am now, yeah.
You're
The older I
camping.
get again. Oh, we do like going camping. Yeah,
Camping.
It's a great holiday.
Got a van.
So we've got a journey to go, haven't we? What we're going to do, this journey is going to take us from Derby and sailing and playing hockey, right through to the clubbing years, right through, because people don't know, and we'll get to it, that you obviously at Tidy, and you've been at Tidy for probably about 8-9 years now, and you do a lot of things for Tidy. You are part of the Tidy team. People don't know probably what you do behind the scenes, but we'll get to that. So let's go back to the journey. Derby.
Discuss.
You're wearing a hockey outfit.
Well, I just didn't play football. I suppose that's the main thing. So we were doing lots of other sport. But yeah, I got into sailing through my dad. So it was something that he liked doing. So I went and did that with him.
Not the sort of thing you do in Derby, is it, sail?
Well, it's on a reservoir, so yeah, it wasn't on a, it wasn't.
right.
Although we did go and do it. We used to go and do like national championships and things that were like on the coast.
Were you a scout? I'm sensing
Yeah,
scout.
oh yeah, I did that. as well. Yeah.
Oh, I
there we
thought
go.
so. Yeah, I thought so.
I did that, and I learnt to be a sailing instructor. So when I was 16, I was a
didn't
sailing
know
instructor
this.
and taught people how to sail, and that's why I've started doing it. Well, I've literally just started doing it again now to get my kids into it, to get them off
Well, that is a lovely
off the
story.
screen and go and do that with them.
You're an outdoorsy kind of guy. So there we are. We're in Derby. We play hockey. We've got a bit of sailing. So where did the music come into play, Ben?
Well, I found the Emporium.
Colville.
Which is what really happened. Yeah. Well, actually, I think the Emporium was the second club we went to because Colville was just like 15 minutes away. The first night was Progress at Time in Derby.
Now there's a club.
So that was definitely the first nightclub that I went to, first kind of dance nightclub.
So what year are we talking? Because we played there. In fact, we met Paul Maddox at Progress in Derby.
I think that will have been 99, 2000.
99, the year we were just getting going.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the Tidy Boys on your early travels?
Of course, yeah.
Did
And
you?
what did you think to them? Did you think?
Oh, I thought they were very good, of course.
Did you? Great. You thought one of them was better than the other, probably.
Well, to be honest, I probably would have been struggling to see either of you at the same time.
Okay, so you're a young lad, and obviously you're clubbing, and you're partaking in the recreational fun that comes with clubbing. Are you out every weekend? Are you a party goer every weekend?
Oh yeah, I mean the recreational fun came a little bit later. We were going to kind of like Slamming Vinyl down in London quite a lot. We just get on the train and go down to there. So some of the old hardcore events, and then Progress, and it kind of started morphing into going to Gatecrasher and the trance events and Passion, with a group of people that was at school with, that were having a great time, and then Storm happened.
So who introduced you to going? Somebody must have come along one day and say, "Come to Colville, it's really good."
So I've been listening to dance music from being kind of, well, a very early teenager.
But weren't
13.
you into rock as a young?
Yeah, I mean, I liked indie music like Oasis and Supergrass and all the kind of Britpop stuff. But one of my best friends at school just started getting kind of tape packs and hardcore tape packs, so that was what we were listening to.
Hardcore.
Yeah, and I'd kind of worked on my mum and dad for a very long time to get a kind of belt drive set of decks.
All right.
And with another one of my mates at school, we kind of bought like a, do you remember Loot, the old
Yeah.
it was like the magazine
Magazine,
with the song
yeah.
stuff. We persuaded them. We basically got like a mobile disco set up. So we then went and did mobile discos for our family, and it kind of started that we were doing them more regularly at the weekends. So
Really?
started off doing it like that with an old Citronic kind of big, the big things that were in the flight cases. The double.
You double decks.
yeah,
I
that's it,
think
yeah.
Rob Tessera mentioned, and I was the same. We all started on double decks, and I remember. This is a weird story. Just to interrupt, my mum, she knew this bloke. I'm sure she was doing stuff.
Really?
Yeah, his name was Rob, and she
Not Dirty Rob.
Dirty Rob, and she'd come home and she said, "Oh, Rob's got you some decks. They don't work, but I think he can fix them." And I thought, "Who's Rob?" And yeah, I got these decks.
From Rob.
Yeah.
We might have to speak to Carol about Rob then.
But the decks smelt of piss. I had to wipe them down. I don't know what, they've been in a bad room, I think. But anyway, I got them going, and I became Dr. Stiff's Roadshow, and I was a mobile DJ myself. Yeah.
We weren't very mobile because our parents had to take us. That was the thing. So we did it for about a year, and it didn't last much longer than that. But that got me the bug into playing music for people.
Yeah.
So you're playing just commercial music?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've still got some of the old 7-inches and everything.
Any Jive Bunny in there?
There certainly was.
Yeah, some Jive Bunny in there.
100%. Yeah.
Everybody's got a Jive Bunny record in their
Oh.
in their
Yeah,
in their
definitely.
collection.
Well, it
lovely.
was a mainstay of
Thank you very
mobile
much.
disco.
And
That's
who would
lovely.
have thought years later he'd be sitting next to the
Exactly,
man
yeah.
who was there with a head on?
I never wore the head, just
Should
for
have made that
reference.
clear
I never,
to camera.
never wore the head.
Ever.
Ever.
Not out in public.
He's obsessed with it.
So you got your decks. You're starting to get your tapes. You're going to Colville. You're starting to like it a bit. What was your first? Do you remember your first hard house record you bought?
Oh,
It's always a tricky one. I wouldn't be able to remember. what
that
mine-
is difficult. There was a record shop in Loughborough called Fat Grooves that I used to go to every week. I'm trying to think what it would have been. It might have been something like Cortina Music is Moving.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's difficult because at that point I remember then I was just buying everything that I possibly could.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to being kind of 17, 18, there was a nightclub in Loughborough that was where we all went.
Yeah.
And I've started DJing there a little bit as well, playing effectively what Judge Jules would be playing on the radio, because that's what we were listening to at that point.
Were you going to clubs underage, Ben? There?
Yes,
You,
yeah,
you
yeah.
mentioned you were 17.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
illegal, isn't it?
I would imagine it probably
So
is.
what year is this?
Are we in now 2001?
How old are you now?
Yeah, me 41. and
You're
then
41,
42
such a boy.
A young boy, and he's 42.
in February.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the hard house thing really kicked off when we were going to Passion quite very regularly, and then Storm started. So and then
That was-
as soon
yeah.
as that started, then we were there every week.
Yeah.
Because that was the clubbing scene back then. There was a night on, a club night on. You know, pretty much every week. You went everywhere. You were doing
week.
2 or 3 gigs a night, weren't we?
Yeah.
So it's just when you look at the clubbing scene now, it's just events.
Nothing.
Oh, it's completely different. Those regular nights. I mean, there's nothing that's weekly anymore, is it? And that's where the vast majority of my friends now we're such a kind of close group of friends. It's all from that.
Yeah, because when you think about it, back in the Midlands where you were from, we used to be able to play 3 or 4 gigs sometimes because you'd got Hot Dog, you'd got Progress, you'd got Sunday Essential,
Storm.
You'd got so many clubs around Birmingham and that area, hadn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And also the promoters didn't mind you play. There were so many clubbers about. They weren't these days. Promoters, they say, "Oh, you can't play at Progress if you're playing at Hot Dog on the same night." You're not allowed.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, there was enough clubbers and enough clubs to go around that they didn't mind if you were playing down the road. You know, so you could, like the Tidy Boys, could play. I think 3 or 4. I think once we did 4 in one night. Was our record?
Because Insomniacs was a thing, wasn't it?
Of course, yeah. And that's somewhere that we kind of then progressed to go into a lot. I remember that one of my best friends at the time that I was going everywhere with was a driving instructor, but also worked on the bar at Passion. So he'd come and pick me up after he finished work at Passion at my mum and dad's house at 4 a.m, and we'd go straight to Insomniacs.
Wow.
It's hard for the generation of today to probably appreciate what clubbing was like. I've got 23 and 20-year-olds, 1-year-old sons who like going out, but it's just every so often. There's no scene now, is there?
No, not like that. Not the things where it was just every weekend.
Every weekend. But as you say, that's where you built up this community, this friendships for life.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that'll happen again, will it?
No, because now there's so many other things you can do at a weekend. You could be playing games, watching Netflix. There's a lot more distraction, whereas back in 1999, if you wanted to meet your friends, you couldn't FaceTime them, you couldn't Skype them or anything like that. It was a way of meeting your friends, and forget the music for a minute, it was all about the social community, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was everything. That it was about meeting up with your friends that you'd met, and met people that lived in London that were going to Sunday Essential in Birmingham, but then we'd see them every week because they'd be at various different places all around the country.
Did you meet your girlfriend stroke then to be wife?
I met Maria, through clubbing and through our group of friends, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most people I speak to have met their partner at a weekender or some club or something like that. So you're underage, probably taking drugs.
Actually, hold on. Go on,
Hold
Ben.
on.
Actually, probably not when I was underage. No, I wasn't.
No.
It was.
Well, that's good to hear, isn't it, for the people watching? And that's clear. That it was playing on my mind, Ben, and I wanted to get it out of the way.
I'm glad we've cleared it up.
But yeah, a lot of people were taking drugs,
Yes.
Ben, and a lot of people were doing crazy stuff. People don't go to Colville like they used to. We were talking about this in the office. People would, and it sounds bad, but they would drink, drive and take drugs and go home. They don't do it now, but we must stress that in 1999 people had less care for safety.
People drove everywhere. There's not many people I know that were ever getting behind the wheel drunk, ever, but they would have been intoxicated.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I remember the car park behind
Always.
the Emporium.
Yes.
It was... People were off their trolleys and quite happy to get in the cars because it wasn't really a thing from a police perspective back then, was it?
100%.
It was alcohol based. You wouldn't do that, but people were popping pills and getting behind the wheel.
The difficult thing is Colville's not got a train station, so for those people that were going, that's how they got there.
And there's no hotel. They're pretty shit hotels. But back in the day, nobody went to a club and stopped in a hotel. That's a relatively new thing. People would either drive home or go on to the next party or go to an after party.
Yeah.
And after parties, well, that's a whole subject we'll talk about later on. But
it's that sort of. It's hard to comprehend Colville, isn't it? Because Colville really is just
the Emporium we're talking about, the club.
Yeah. So that town to have such an iconic club because it was on that M1 sort of trip from the north to the south. So as a DJ, it was a great stop off for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And people used to flock to that place, didn't they?
It was amazing. It was a proper super club. In fact, it had one of those brown like cultural signs, didn't it?
Yeah.
Towards the Emporium. Like you don't get that for Ritzy.
And it's still there, of course. It's still there,
it
but
is,
like I said, it is difficult to fill it these days because of the culture of not many people going out. which is a shame. Progress had 2 nights. I think they had one in Nottingham and one in Derby. I think they got so successful they could. And I remember we played them both. I think one night they had 2 run at the same time.
I don't think I ever went to the one in Nottingham, but we used to go to Time in Derby.
Time, that was where we met Paul Maddox. Yeah,
with the roller rink next door to it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a great club that.
And amazing.
We did a Tidy Vision tour there. But yeah, Paul Maddox, I remember him coming up dressed up as a little cyber kid when he was spotty and
his rucksack, his Pokemon rucksack on his back.
There's a CD. But maybe we'll speak to Paul Maddox about that when we're trying to get Paul Maddox in.
Well, he certainly wouldn't have looked out of place at that time, would he?
No. Did you dress up?
Not really like that. I did have a bit of cyber stuff. But
is there any photograph?
I'm sure if I ask some of my mates, they will have them. Yeah, I'll see if I can find them. I haven't got any, no.
That would be nice in the second book that we're doing, wouldn't it? Just maybe a special page about you dressed
dressed in cyber.
So you're doing all that and Insomniacs. What year did Insomniacs start? Because that's where you sort of, I suppose, get to know Paul Glasby and all. This is where the Vicious Circle thing.
Insomniacs would have been on. Did that start in '99? I think because it was the second birthday was the day I'd moved to Leeds,
right,
out of my parents' house and gone to university in Leeds. The second birthday event was the day that I moved into the Hall of Residence in Leeds.
So what happened? You jumped to Leeds there. So you Derby, leave school.
Yeah, I did my A levels. I did geography as an A level.
Geography?
Yeah.
Oh, you love geography.
I really did love geography.
What did you like about it?
I just found it very interesting, like physical geography. It's not that interesting for this kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. Let's chat.
But I do.
Yeah, glacial erosion, truncated spurs, V-shaped valleys.
I found it interesting at school.
But there's 2 types of geography. There's look at the map of the world. Oh, that's where India is.
Yeah.
And then there's I love the shape of that hill.
Yeah, the physical geography is what I like. Not
the hills.
Yeah.
And the valleys.
Yeah, I'm with you. Oxbow Lakes.
Yeah,
and
all that kind of stuff. It interested me. However, I was quite good at it at school. That was the subject that I was quite good at. So I chose the universities to go and do this because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I actually don't think anybody should go to university at 18 ever. I think you need a bit longer in life to decide what do you actually want to go and do. So I was going to do geography, and I chose the university cities of where Sunday Central was.
Good lad.
So I chose Leeds, Birmingham and Bristol, and I got into Leeds.
Brilliant.
Committed, that, innit? That's committed.
But it was good that you got into Leeds because that's where you met people like Sam Town.
And no.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Go on. Why no?
Well, Leeds, it perhaps would have been better to choose, as an adult now, to choose a university city about where the course was going to be good, not about where the party was.
Well, Leeds back in '99 and 2000 up to 2003 was the party city, wasn't it? Because we used to play. Of course, you got Sunday Central going off and all that, and it really was. We were talking about playing on a Wednesday night in Leeds. Was it Base at Space was going off.
Glasshouse.
It really was. I'd say Leeds, probably even. There was a lot in Birmingham, but Leeds seemed to have a lot more going off in the 2000s.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was a party every
night.
But effectively, as it progressed, going clubbing more, it literally turned into that. We'd go to Base on a Wednesday, so that meant Thursday was pretty much written off, and then it was Friday. So then it was Friday, it was the weekend again, and then we go out on Saturday. We might go to Gatecrasher, go to Insomniacs. Go to the Howard in London on Sunday, to Sunday Mass, or maybe even go down to Derby for Sunday service that little Ben used to run. Yeah. Then some of my friends were at university in Sheffield, so we might stay there on the way home. Matt Hardwick ran a student night at the Republic on Monday called Blessed.
Wow.
Sometimes we go there, and then it was Tuesday again.
Jeez.
So
getting ready for Wednesday.
It was a constant thing, and there was another night in Leeds on a Thursday called Fat. Sam ran a night as well. So there was a lot of things going on, and
you thought, fuck geography.
What happened was I fell behind a little bit with it, and it was very no. I actually for the first year I stayed on top of it. I did have to resit the exams in the summer, but I passed it all. But then the second year it became all very maths based, and I just couldn't do it. The more that compounded, the worse it got, basically.
But this is it, Ben. You look like a geography teacher.
I've got no elbow pads, but
you've got the potential to be a geography teacher. And yet, I remember Sam Townend saying, "Oh, you want to speak to Ben about them dark party years?" I said, "Well, what happened?" And he said, "Well, you ask him." And I'm asking.
I don't think there were
The
any
after
dark
parties.
party years, but my house was a party house. It was.
Student house,
Yeah.
was it?
Oh yeah. It was.
Where was that, in Headingley, was it?
It was in Hyde Park.
Yeah,
And
just-
it's actually Woodhouse. It was just opposite
Oh,
Hyde
yeah,
Park.
I know.
But yeah, it was that was where we all went. It was a party house for a good number of years.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall during them
I don't
years.
think the flies would have survived in there.
Was it bad?
No, it was great. It was great, but it was a party kind of pretty much any night of the week if people really wanted it.
How long did this last? This
A couple
sort
of years
hedonistic-
while I was at university, and then it got to the point in the second year that I realised this is not going the way that it should be. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. I told my mum and dad, I was like, look, this is not happening anymore. There's no point in continuing this because it's I knew what was coming by the end of the second year, in that I would not pass it, and that would be it.
And so you didn't pass. You didn't take
No,
it.
I didn't take the second. I got about halfway through the second year, and then made the decision that I was going to stop. And sometimes I believe in karma and fate, sometimes I don't. But I'd met Paul Glasby from going to Insomniacs a lot. I'd kind of been, I just used to hassle him about the tunes he was playing, I think.
Yeah.
And got quite friendly with Paul, and he lost his driving licence from speeding too many times when he was trying to get between gigs and things like that. And I just said, look, I'm going to all of these places that you're at, I'll drive.
Nice.
So I'd met Paul and Scott Cooper that was running Vicious Circle with him, and we were driving around going to various different gigs. And one day I just asked Scott, I was like, look, if you ever need anybody to do any work for you, I've ended my
But can I just
career
say,
at
why
university.
would Paul Glasby, after your party couple of years, why would Paul Glasby say he'd be a good driver? Were you?
I wasn't partying while I was driving.
Oh, right,
I wouldn't
yeah.
have done that, no. But I mean, you can talk to him, but he was just as bad as everyone else.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Sure he was.
So yeah, but it was just like, I'm going to all of these places, so
yeah.
and you've got to go to these places, so he was stuck. So I was just like, I'm quite happy to drive. So I got to know him a bit better, and yeah, I just said to him one day, look, if you ever need anybody else to work for you or do any work, I need something to do. And if you're doing that, and it was at the moment they were just about to set up the online record shop.
Right. So Vicious Circle, how long had it been going before this? Because I'm trying to think back to when Vicious.
2 years.
So was that about 99 as well then? Do you think?
This will have been about 2002. So
Right.
they
were later,
were,
though, were they?
Yeah. When it started, it was 2000.
Oh,
So it
right.
was 2002 when I started with them. But I think they were 20 or 21 releases
Oh, right,
by
yeah.
that point.
So you're a big fan of Vicious Circle, of
Yeah,
course.
100%, yeah.
Was it the harder, faster you liked of Hard
Yeah.
House? Because you came from hardcore background, I suppose it was the faster music you liked.
Yeah, although the kind of happy hardcore that I'm into is like the polar opposite. It's the cheesiest music in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Vicious Circle stuff, it kind of just grabbed me, and I did like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And were you DJing at this point?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So, at what level were you DJing? Where were you playing?
I was DJing kind of fairly regularly at like small nightclubs and things like that in Leeds. I'd met one of my very good friends when I moved there was a lad called Taz that sold tickets for Sunday Central.
Yeah.
And one of his best mates is Barry from Good Grief. So he'd kind of put me in touch. I did a DJ comp at Good Grief with Amber as well, actually. She was in that.
Oh, right, yeah. Because she did a competition. In fact, Amber won the Weekender competition that we
Yeah.
did, one of the first Weekenders, and she became, off the back of that, I think that she launched a career, really.
Yeah, well, it will have been around that time because that was at Phillips Park Hall, which is still one of the best
Yeah.
Oh,
best venues that ever was, that place. And I'd started doing that for Barry sometimes, Sunday Mass that was in Sheffield, which was the guys that ran that were a bit
Shady.
interesting to say the least. And from that, it just kind of I was DJing like on everything for free, obviously, but just in as many places as I possibly could.
Were you a good mixer? Were you still learning
I
your
practiced
craft?
a lot. I mean, we partied for 2 years non-stop with the decks, so that was
Yeah.
was effectively it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
because go on. I was just to say, a lot of people compare Ben with Paul Glasby, don't they? Sort of like, obviously, the style of what you were playing.
The style of music is probably quite similar. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, going back to those days, you'd got labels like obviously Tidy, Tripoli, Nucleus. Because Tidy wasn't as hard clearly as of where Vicious was. Were you accessing all the different labels, or were you leaning one way?
But you say that, but then there's like the E&M tracks,
Yeah,
the Eyewitness ones, like, and yes, they weren't all hard, but they were all the absolute anthems, weren't they? So yeah, all of it. I was buying. I mean, especially because HMV was so amazing. It was 3 for £10. You just go in there. I'll have all the Tidy ones, all the Nuclears, all the Trip. You just buy them without listening to them.
And that's what we tried to do with Tidy, was set up a label that, what you've just said, because we were inspired by Huge Tunes, and we always said that we wanted Tidy like that you could go in as a DJ and just say, what's the latest one on Huge or Tidy? It's in. I'll just have it, not going to play it, because you knew you got of a certain quality. You didn't have to check it. So, it was a good feeling. But I think, like you said, with Tidy, we had a diverse range, appealing to a wider range of DJs, from Untidy to, like you said, E&M and
definitely.
Harder Faster.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, Vicious sort of put themselves in a groove, I suppose, didn't they? They were more specialist.
It was just that bit faster, wasn't it? And
a bit dirtier.
Yeah, 100%. It was built for the kind of the end of the night.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was built around Glasby, because he was that
100%.
dark destroyer at the end of the night, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, famous for the Weekender, always finishing on Kick It, which incidentally was an accident, apparently.
Well, he doesn't really like it very much.
He doesn't really like it. Just to let people know, world exclusive, Paul Glasby's not a fan of Kick It. I think what it was is you'd ended the night and he thought he'd played the last one. It might have been Are You Ready or something. And then you said, no, we'll have one more. And he panicked. This was at the first Weekender. And I think Kick It was there.
Right,
and he stuck it on. And then the next Weekender he did the same. And then every time we'd done a Weekender, people demand he played a Kick It. So it was a happy accident.
Nice happy accident.
Lovely story there.
It certainly is.
You. So from Vicious Circle, you got in there with, was it Scott, you say?
Yeah, Scott Cooper, who was the label
What was your
manager.
first job then, that they said, come on, Ben, get on board?
I dealt with the online record shop. So I dealt with the distributors, buying the stock in, selling it, shipping everything.
Vinyl.
Sounds familiar now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Come full circle.
But yeah, so yeah, all vinyl, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that involved actually bringing the stuff to you guys as well.
Yeah.
To Sean.
Because we have, at this point, we're not even got into digital. We're too early, aren't we? We're on vinyl, and people don't realise, because we've got a vinyl club now where we've got, I think, 350 members.
That's right.
But back in the day, we'd probably mail 350 test pressings out to DJs. Yeah. We were doing sort of 3, 5, 10,000 copies. So it's quite. Although it's back in a smaller way, isn't it? But,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a lot of the post office got a lot of stuff from us, but it was great. I mean, that was everything at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the format to get everything.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, for me at the time, it was. The kind of deal was, we can't pay you very much, but you've got a lot of free access to music here, because all the promos that came from all the distributors, they were all mine. That was worth the weight in gold at the time for me.
So it wasn't just a Vicious Circle shop.
We sold everything. It was an online record shop that sold all Hard House.
This is Toolbox, is it?
No, it was just ViciousCircle.net. It was the Vicious Circle.
I suppose we were doing the same at Tidy.
Yeah.
In 2001, we launched Tidy.com, and we were selling other people's vinyl as well as our own.
And we had the physical shop.
And we had a physical shop in Kettering, which a lot of people forgot about. Yeah, for 2.5 years, we had a shop in Kettering selling vinyl. I remember that shop. I remember one guy, I think he'd come over from Ireland just to buy 2 records and fly back, just and had his photo took outside the shop.
Nice.
People were obsessed.
It shows you what an effect it had on people.
Yeah, and vinyl, as we'll talk about a bit later, is back with more of an affection than anything else, I think. I think the digital. Well, how did Toolbox come then? So where do we jump from?
So that was,
are we waiting for vinyl to die?
That was much later. Yeah, that was at the point that I wasn't working for Paul anymore because of what happened with the distributors. We got to the point that people weren't buying enough vinyl. Yeah. So at that point, Scott had left, and I was helping run the record label with Kate Hammond.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, everything fell apart really because the distributors went bankrupt.
That's
We've
right.
got like 4 releases planned
Yeah.
with them. We've got
Pinnacle.
all the test presses.
Yeah, they
there was Amato that went
Amato
under,
went down, took us down as well.
and it just took everything with it, and it literally bankrupted the business.
How much did Tidy? You remember how much we lost?
I remember I was in France at the time and got the call so that Amato had gone bust, and yeah, that took us down for a lot of money at the
Yeah.
time.
Well,
a lot of money.
I remember going there to try and get the stock. I went to the warehouse in Blackburn, and Mark Knight was there from Toolroom. They were doing the same, and then I still don't know who they were, but there was these lads from this hardcore label turned up with baseball bats, jumped straight over the fence to go and get what they wanted.
We should have got.
So-
we should have done that with a baseball bat.
We should.
We should have got all the stock back.
But yeah, it effectively at the time finished the record label because it bankrupted the company.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Well, we were lucky. I think we.
Well, we
held
survived
on.
because Tidy was part of the Music Factory
Yeah.
group at the time, so we weren't just an island. But yeah, we lost 6 figures, I think.
Big distributors went first, didn't they? And that had the knock-on effect with all the shops, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
that
for the
was-
labels, you'd manufactured your stock.
Yeah.
You know, so you'd got money in the stock and the stock with the distributor, and then the distributor goes down and you can't get your stock.
Yeah.
So you're done on both ends.
So yeah, nasty time for vinyl. And like I said, that was the end. I think we even Tidy went from doing 10, 15,000 vinyl down to about 5, and then within a couple of years later, couldn't shift 2,000 vinyl.
Yeah.
It was almost an overnight thing, wasn't it? It was.
I think it was within about a year that it really happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly.
So you're still going clubbing. What was your first weekender, Ben?
The first one.
You went to the first one. You were
Certainly did.
there.
We got a flyer outside base, in fact.
Did
Wow.
you
And
really?
we went, that looks good. Let's go to that.
So you were there as a punter?
Yes, yeah. There's a picture of us. In fact, there's a picture of us in DJ mag from it with the decks out on the balcony because it was it was really
Oh, yeah.
warm, wasn't it? It was really good.
Yeah,
when
it
that
was. It was. Yeah, it was.
So yeah, we took our decks to it and just had a party at it.
April the 5th, 2002, and I remember that picture because all the Vicious Circle, and there was another banner, something
That-
up north or something.
That was the fourth one.
Oh right, that was the fourth.
That was the fourth one. So that was the first one that I DJ'd at.
Yeah. What was your impression of a weekender then? Because we get guests on, and everybody's been to a weekender, whether you're a DJ or a clubber. What was your first impression of a weekender?
Oh, they're such an amazing event because especially as we've got into them, like everybody's there. That first one, I don't remember it being that busy.
No, I think it was about 1,700. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But as after that first one, it just snowballed so quickly, and then because there were 2 of them a year, absolutely everybody was.
Well, we
there.
had to do 2 because there wasn't enough. They'd only held 3,000 people, so we had to do 2 to fit everybody on.
Yeah.
The ticket was selling that quick. But I think it snowballed because word of mouth. 1,700 people come back, and they said that was the best event of their lives.
Oh, 100%.
And then obviously it went through the roof, didn't it?
So you had the experience as a clubber and as a DJ?
Yeah, for the first 3, I was a clubber, and then the fourth one, I was in again, karma would say it sometimes, but Scott Cooper was best friends with Mark Foster, who was obviously running your DJ agency at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And Karim pulled out of the event
Whoop.
a few days before it was happening. So I don't know what happened, but he wasn't able to do it. But obviously, all the lanyards and everything had been printed up. Everything was done for the event. And Scott just said to Mark, "Well, Ben will do it. He can play that music. He'll do
Yeah.
it." So I went and did it. But everybody was expecting to see Karim at it. So
Yeah.
that room too, I still remember it now. It was one of the best experiences of my life because it was absolutely stacked.
Yeah, it would
Because
have been.
that was 4, was it?
Number
Yeah,
4,
four, yeah.
Because by this time we were putting
Oh, right.
3,000
It,
people
it
in there.
was rammed,
Yeah.
and it's giving me goosebumps now thinking about that.
Because you were a good stand-in for Karim, because I don't think you could have put anybody thinking back. You were a perfect stand-in. Obviously, we didn't know it at the time. Probably took a risk, you know.
100%. I think it was just, and if it hadn't have been for Scott, I don't think that would have happened because Scott and Mark were such good friends.
Yeah.
What Scott had done was when I started working for them, they'd printed up, I can't remember how many it was like 5,000 promo CDs that just went in all of the orders.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really kick-started all the DJing for me because it went out to everybody and all the promoters and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he'd given Mark one of those.
Yeah. Fate.
But,
Fate.
but that's
So
that,
when you see Karim, you give him a big hug.
I've told him before. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks
So was
for
that a bit of a breakthrough moment for you?
100%. I was at that point. I was DJing quite a lot, and I was starting to be paid for it. I was DJing at Frantic, and various other places. But that was that's one of the things that I would say was
Turning point.
that I went, wow, this probably could work.
I think it was like us when we played Sunday Central and we stood in for Darren Stokes, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it's just fate and it being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You can work as hard as you want, but if you don't get a little bit of luck, you still don't get it.
100%. I don't think I'm in any way a better DJ than anybody else. The vast majority of everything.
Oh,
we
Ben,
do
that's
is-
rubbish.
No, but I wouldn't think that. But it's meeting people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's meeting
Yeah.
people and connecting with them, and that's really what will help you in not just in music, but in all walks of
A lot of
life.
people don't realise that getting out there and connecting and communicating and is the most important thing. Like I said, you can be the best mixer in the world, and best DJ, but it doesn't mean say you're going to get the gig. You know, probably having a drink with the promoter at the bar is going to get you the gig.
100%. Yeah.
And to a certain degree, yeah, of course, when you say you're no better DJ than anybody else, I think everybody has got their own style. And we sometimes question, why do people book the Tidy Boys?
Light entertainers.
But everybody's got their own style. But we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, of
we're all
course.
mixing records together and entertaining the crowd. So,
Yeah.
but you have got your own style, and I think if you carve a niche for your particular style and become a caricature of that particular sound, then you've got a better chance, haven't you?
Who was your influence as a DJ? Obviously, Glasby being the first.
But yeah, I mean, Paul would have been Andy Farley, Justin Bourne. Those two would have been, as well as Paul. Yeah, they would have been the people that I kind of align myself musically with, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Andy Farley's obviously. We're going to try and get Andy Farley up here in the podcast because he's a legend, isn't he?
Oh, he certainly is. Yeah.
And still does it today. I think we were in Ibiza with him the other week, and he played before us, and we just looked at each other and said, "He's just so good, isn't he?"
We love him.
Well, that's a different story. You love him.
Platonic. It's very platonic.
Fancy him.
So, so when did the production kick in for yourself?
So it started. I'm trying to think what year it would have been. It was probably 2004, something like that. Working at Vicious Circle and Paul going, you should probably be making some tracks now. So he booked me in the studio with Maddox. So this was at the point that Maddox will have not been working at Music Factory anymore.
Yep.
This was at his
Well, this is a bit later
in
then.
his student house
Remember it well.
in Olive.
We did a through the keyhole of his
Oh,
student
it was a good old house, that wasn't
Have you
it?
seen? Have you watched Through the Keyhole? Yeah.
They should definitely be brought back.
That was a dirty house, wasn't
It
it?
certainly was.
It was a very dirty house.
In Sheffield, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got his studio there. So
Yeah.
did he teach you the production, or did he engineer your first track? Or?
All of the first ones. Well, I did a few with Ingo and Sam at the same time. A few with Alex Calver, and then the vast majority of them with Maddox. I think Paul did the engineering for a couple of years and built me a computer.
Well,
And then I started to learn myself
yeah.
and found it incredibly difficult. It is not an easy thing to learn from scratch at all.
He would have been using
At
Cubase
all.
at that point.
Yeah, that's it. And we built the computer, and by this point I was living in Sheffield, so I'd moved from Leeds.
Yeah.
I was living in Sheffield, and I was trying to teach myself. Not particularly well. It is not an easy thing to learn.
No.
And after a while, after I then finished working at Vicious Circle, I had to make a decision about what I was going to do, because I'd met Maria by this point.
Yeah.
Maria lived in Manchester. I lived in Sheffield. That was all very good at first, but that journey is not much fun.
You don't remember which club you met
week.
Maria, do you? Do you remember which night it was?
It will have been Sunday Central, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But then, so we were doing that journey a lot. So we were then, Maria was looking for jobs in Sheffield, and then she was like, well, I found a better one in Manchester, so I up sticks and moved to Manchester, where after a party one night I was like, I should really be doing something with my life that's not just sitting here and DJing at the weekend. And I enrolled in a music production course in a place called the School of Sound Recording in Manchester
Oh, right.
to do it was like a 6 month just dance music course.
What year is this? Are we talking? Do you think
You
now?
see, at this point in my life, it starts to get very blurry.
Well, just think. I'm sure your missus will want to know what year you met, and you can
Well,
work it.
we've
But
been together
you must have an
16
anniversary.
years.
Yeah.
So it's sometime.
So you're looking about 2008, I think.
That seems about right. Yeah. So it was. I did this course for 6 months, and that kind of just consolidated everything that I knew already. I just didn't know how to put it into practice.
So what software were they
That was
teaching
with
you on the course?
Cubase.
That was
Well,
with
it
Cubase.
Reason and Cubase, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And from that, I started then being able to do it myself. Not
Yeah.
very well at first, but then just continuing to learn and writing music with other people.
Yeah.
And at the same time as doing that, I was working with Nick Denton.
All
So I
right.
kind of moved to Manchester and started a job with Nick doing vinyl distribution for the hard house record labels that were still doing hard house.
With your productions, do you remember what your first track was that you put out that you engineered yourself?
There was one called Dreamer that's really not very good. When I listen back to everything now,
Yeah.
the issue with the digital side of everything is you can just put stuff out.
Yeah.
And when I listen back to it now, it makes me cringe and go, there's a good 3-year period where all of that music should have stayed on my computer.
So what you're saying is for the people listening and watching, they shouldn't delve into your catalogue and listen to Dreamer back.
They're quite happy to listen to it back. It's part of what I
yeah,
did.
of course it is.
But it's not like when I listen to stuff now. It's that is the issue with digital stuff, is that there's no kind of payment wall to be able to do it. You've
Yeah.
not got to invest in it. If you want to put something out, you can do it now. And I would highly advise, with hindsight, to anybody that's learning to write music, just wait a few years before you put it online, because
Well, that was the difference with A&R, because when you're an A&R, like at Tidy, you had to make a tough decision because you had to turn more down than you accepted. Because if you're going to press 10,000 pieces of vinyl,
course.
you can't afford to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas you say now, you can take a punt and say, well, it's not that good, it's average, the production's a bit... Yeah, just stick it on Spotify.
although I have got quite a lot of rubbish vinyl as well. So at the point that it was booming, people were buying everything.
Yeah.
So I have got quite a lot of stuff that
There's a lot on Alpha Magic we want to forget, isn't there?
there was good. There was a lot of good stuff on there though. The Mick Cree stuff on there was good.
Yeah. But there was a lot of dodgy white labels that you thought, what on earth's this? That just came through.
Yeah, but people were buying. Pretty
What was
much
your
everything that came
landmark track, Ben Stevens, that you go?
out. Well, I mean, the first two that I did with Maddox that were on Vicious Circle, Squeeze and Attack were the ones that definitely
You go they stand up.
cement. Yeah, 100%.
You're still proud of
100%.
them ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
So you've always worked in music. You didn't have to go and work at Tesco's
Or geography.
or in a warehouse or teach geography.
I worked. My dad's a quantity surveyor, and I worked with him just when I finished school. They were building a big Amazon warehouse, so I went and worked there. Then went to university, and everything else has been music since.
Which is
Well,
great.
I worked at the bar at East Midlands Airport that year as well.
Did you?
I'd love to have seen you there.
I just remembered someone it was at the point where credit cards were still like the swipe machines.
Swipe ones.
And this whole group of people just going off, and then the bank ringing up going, that credit card was fake.
Oh, dear.
Oh, tricky.
Yeah, I think that might have been my last day at work.
Wow. So you've done a bit of everything then, really, haven't you? Which is
Well,
good.
a bit of everything in music, but not a lot of everything else, which has been very, very lucky, really.
We've all had shit jobs. Oh, you've not had a shit job.
I kind of did.
Go on. What was your first shit job?
When I left school at 16, I was fixing kettles and toasters and working in a warehouse. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that was with at least a family. At least a family.
I was working within the family business like
Yeah.
Ben, but
So you-
I didn't go straight into a recording studio.
Yeah.
I didn't do it for long, but yeah, I was, working in a warehouse with
But the
proper men.
And then 2 years later, you're a pop star and you're on top of the pops.
Yeah, exactly.
Wearing the head. But yeah, I've had some real shit jobs, Ben. So I'll just name a few. First one was working in a gay menswear shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one was working in a menswear shop. The third one, I actually, what did I do? Oh yeah, I worked for I worked for Mind, National Mental Health, which was good. Then I worked for Keep Catching Tidy,
That was useful.
and then I worked in a
Gay sauna.
gay sauna. But it wasn't a gay
There's a
sauna.
theme.
It was just a sauna for men.
Where gays went.
Where gays went. And then I worked in Booker Cash and Carry, stacking beans on the shelf, wearing red trousers and a red jacket. And
Love
I
to
left.
see that.
I left February the 7th, 1991, and I've not had a normal job since.
And you live with a gay man, am I right?
I live with a gay man called Norman,
So as you can see,
and I used to go to gay clubs.
so, I think it's a lovely thing. You really do, that you've got that past, which we can celebrate now.
But
Can't
I've been
we-
with my wife since 1981.
A very open relationship.
So yeah, we've all had shit jobs, and I think it's good to have shit jobs because it rounds you and makes you, you appreciate the good jobs and the good things in life. If you've been through, I worked in a chip shop for a day. Forgot about that one.
great.
Got electrocuted downstairs. All water was coming in. I was cutting chips. Got electrocuted. Left. But
Anyway, back to Ben Stevens.
yeah, enough about me and Andy. So you've got the job. I'm just recapping here. 2008. You've met Maria.
Yes.
You're kissing her a lot, aren't you?
There are, yes.
Falling in love, probably.
Yeah.
Falling in love.
Lovely.
Planning children, maybe.
I think she was definitely planning children, yeah.
Was that
Not long after we met, she was like, I want 3 children.
what really?
Which you have.
Which
is-
it
well,
worked,
great.
didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, fantastic.
So were you up for that?
Yeah.
You said, yeah, let's
Well,
have 3 kids.
Actually,
Not at that point, probably.
when we'd had 2, it took quite a lot more persuading to have a 3rd one.
But you're a DJ. You're travelling. You got the success. You're riding high. Why? You must have thought, I don't want kids at this point.
Not really, no, because
You still think you
yeah, no, like they're amazing. So,
So you wanted to be a family man.
yeah, definitely.
Because some people
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, but no, I've always wanted to have children. So it was that the point that we were doing that in our lives was not a major.
So you
A
stopped the
major
party and the late
Yeah, yeah,
nights,
of course, yeah.
And then you got straight at it, and
Yeah.
then made 2 children.
We made one child, and then we made another one.
Made
But
them.
we definitely made them.
You
But
enjoy
although
making-
they've all decided to join the party a little bit early.
What do you mean?
Well, Annie was born very early. She was born 3 months early, so
Wow.
she was in the
That
intensive
beats
care
you.
for,
That beats
for
you,
3
doesn't
months.
it? 3 months. That beat you.
How many weeks was she born?
26 weeks.
Yeah,
bang on.
Miles was 30. Well, yeah, that is early.
That is.
William was 32, Thomas was 34, so they've kind of progressively got a little bit better. As
Yeah.
they've,
All yours were early then, and
All
yours-
mine were early, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, so
we
they-
could discuss premature babies at
that's
some
it.
point.
They wanted to join the party.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Then we had kids, and that's the
Settled
big
down.
change in your life, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a big change. A lot of people don't realise what a big change it is. So you've got kids, you've got a job. When's Toolbox Digital happening?
So that happened. I started working for Nick Denton, and we were just doing. At that point, we were just doing vinyl distribution, and it was just as digital was coming around, really. And we decided to set up a small download store, really just to service the Toolbox Recordings music.
Yeah.
And then a few more labels wanted to join it, so it was a very basic thing at the time. And Paul James actually had a kind of part of it, really,
Oh.
in the way that I'm trying to think where we were. It was probably Storm, and as both Paul and I do, we're having a bit of a moan to each other about some things to do with
Royalties.
music or it actually was to do with royalties, and what it was actually to do with was Track It Down never paid PRS ever.
Oh, really?
So they never paid them any money, and it's the eventual reason that Track It Down went under is because PRS hammered them and tried to get all the money. Even though they said they were doing this, they never
that's
paid them.
naughty,
They
isn't
never
it?
paid them a penny, and we were acutely aware of that because we were selling music on there, never getting anything on statements.
Ah.
So we were like, well, if we just move everybody to Toolbox instead, and we pay them more, and we sort the PRS license out, but pay everybody a better royalty rate, and
Yeah. Of
but
course.
say you've got to have it exclusive for a month,
Yeah.
and it worked. So everybody
So,
moved. The smaller independent labels just moved straight over to Toolbox.
so was
because-
Paul James the investor, or just
No,
an
he
idea?
was just like, you should do this because it will be better for everybody if you do it.
particularly for Paul.
Well, but it'd be better for anybody that was running a record label because Paul was running Elastic Man with a Logic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Um,
So that worked well for him.
But yeah, it worked. And then Nick, the end of us distributing vinyl for Nick was quite difficult because the shops went under and he owed the record labels money. And instead of going bankrupt, he paid everybody. But he was like, right, I'm out of here. I'm not doing anything to do with music. He just went and DJ'd.
Yeah.
He runs, Nick's like the manager for one of the big gay venues on Canal Street now.
Right.
So he was like, I don't want to do this business bit anymore. But we had this small download store at the time. He's like, do you want to continue running it and buy the business from me? Which is what I did.
And so you did it alone. You
I
took
did it alone, and then got Label Works involved with it, and turned it into somewhere that people could that you could set a record label up with. Yeah,
But it was mainly aimed at hard house and the sort of hard.
it's only really hard house.
Yeah.
Because there's the logistics of having all the music on there is just too expensive.
No.
It doesn't work.
And it's still there today.
Still today, yes.
It's still there today. Yeah, it's still a viable business that supports lots of the small record labels as well as we're on there.
Yeah.
Vicious Circles on there.
So what's the URL for anybody that's thinking, I wonder
It's
where that is?
toolboxdigitalshop.com.
Toolboxdigitalshop.com. I'd like to put a little caption at the bottom if I can be bothered. But yeah, thanks for that. So it's still there, doing well and digital. And so we jump on. You've got 2 kids looking for a third, trying for a third. Toolbox is doing well. Everything's great. Nothing bad happening. Is it all great at the minute?
Well, I guess the bad thing that happens then. Well, I mean, at that point.
All good stories have got a bad twist.
Well, no, I was
Come on,
going
Ben.
a bit further than that was COVID, but we've not got there.
Oh
yet.
no, that's ages yet.
Is anything bad happened? Well, I mean, bad things have happened through my friends and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
That effectively are casualties of clubbing that had
Yeah.
had big effects on our kind of group of friends.
We touch on that quite a lot in the podcast. I think we did with Rob about the dark side of clubbing and too much partying and the effects it has later down in life. And a lot of people have lost a lot of close friends, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%, and that is no difference for our group of friends. But it's not something that we try and dwell on anymore.
No, we don't dwell on it. But are you happy that you took a different path? What was it? You could have probably easily gone down that path.
100% at the point that I wasn't working for Glaz anymore. That could have been a very different story if I wasn't with Maria or I was on my own or something like that. I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
Because we were partying quite a lot, but that's not the case anymore.
But it's funny how some people have got a switch where they can be in the party animal and going down a bad path, and then some people wake up one day and say, I've had enough and I need. But some people can't get out that groove.
I think you need a purpose, or you need someone else that's telling you not to do that.
Yeah.
I think is it.
So did you have a purpose or somebody
100%.
tell you?
Well, I had both. Yeah. I had Maria, obviously my family and friends and everything like that. But then I also had a purpose because I moved to Manchester, did the course, got another job.
But didn't Maria fall in love with the party animal, Ben Stevens?
Probably, but I also fell in love with the party animal that's Maria.
And did
she was
she?
quite good at getting thrown out everywhere we went as well.
Was she? But did she switch from party animal to being sensible first, and you followed suit?
Probably a little bit quicker. Yeah.
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 I think ladies do, don't
Well,
they?
she is also a school teacher, isn't she?
She is. Yes. She wasn't at the time. She was a project manager.
Yeah.
for-
She's
for
a
steel
responsible
company.
human.
She's
Now.
a very responsible human.
I've
now,
met her,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So advice to people that are partying hard out there now is do it, enjoy it, but get off the train at
I
a
think
certain station.
Just make sure it's recreational. That's the thing. Have a good time, but as long as you're at work Monday morning, there's no problem.
And then you haven't got a
Recreational.
problem. I think I've said to a lot of people, if you like you just said, if you can switch Monday back to being normal Ben.
It's the same as any vice, drinking, like anything. You can't let anything affect your life like that.
Recreational, not occupational.
Exactly. Perfect.
That's good. I like that.
I know, I just made that up. Recreational,
Recreational,
not occupational.
I'm gonna make a note of that, Andy.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So while he's making that note, when did the sort of touring kick in for you, where you started going off internationally? And
So that would have been that was when I first started touring. The first places I went to was New Zealand and Australia, and that was with Glaz. So that would have been 2006.
and did you find yourself going abroad quite a bit?
It wasn't loads. I went to Ireland a lot, and I've been to Australia and New Zealand 6 or 7 times, and to Canada. But that's it. I didn't go anywhere else apart from that.
Because it's quite a big scene in Australia. And New
It was
Zealand,
huge.
wasn't
I
it?
mean, especially is because in the Commonwealth we've got those. I think we've still got them. The youth movement visas, where if you're 18 to 25, you can come here for 2 years. We can go to Australia for 2 years. So that whole scene of everybody from Australia and New Zealand in London was absolutely massive. And then because the visas run out,
Yeah.
they exported it back there, and the scene was
It was huge, wasn't it?
huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
It
The
was-
Antipodean
it
scene
was
in
great.
London was massive.
guys at Fever and Fahrenheit, and
Yeah.
it was
Well, Steve Hill still does the reunions, doesn't he, in New Zealand?
100%, yeah, in Auckland. Which,
It's not as big out there as somebody said. The scene's dropped off now, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's events in Sydney are massive, but that's more hardstyle and hardcore based.
Yeah.
But again, everybody's got older. So
And how did you find touring back then? Because
it was amazing. It was great fun. Like the first time we went to New Zealand, very kind of a bit naively. Well, I mean, it was naive for Paul as well. We got there. The promoters were like, "Yeah, the visas will be with you when you land." So we landed, and then they were like, "Well, no, we've not." The customs were like, "Well, we've not got your visas. Just come this way." Just come this way. And I think I'd been at Parlez-Vous, which before I'll go back into that. That was Parlez-Vous is the best club.
We'll talk about
is the best
Parlez-Vous
club in the world.
Yeah.
I'd been there. We'd been up all night. I was still wearing the same clothes I'd been in Parlez-Vous because we went straight to the airport.
Oh.
Got there. They were like, "So what is it you're doing here?" And we're like, "Well, we've come for DJing here, DJing at this venue." The promoter said the visas will be at the airport for us. And they just laughed at us. They were like, "Well, that's not how this works."
right.
So they were like, "Just come this way." They searched through everything.
Anal search?
There was no anal search, but there was a full.
Take your clothes off.
I've still got the little form that you had to sign.
Did they take all your clothes
They
off?
took all my clothes off, yeah, because the
Did
machine,
you?
the
Really?
machine lit up like a firework when they swabbed me.
So no, I didn't know they did that. You got all.
They took everything off.
Your cock and balls were
everything
hanging
off. Bend over. Boom.
Cock and
Really?
balls out.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Well, I think only if the swab machine beeps like.
Oh, so you'd got a strong reaction.
They'd got a strong smell off me. Obviously, I didn't have anything, but there was certainly some
remnants.
There was. Well, I'd been in a nightclub.
It could have been anything.
It
So
could have been anything.
somebody could have
It
rubbed
could have
against
been
you with
anything.
So you're stood there stark bollock naked
With no visa in
With
New
no
Zealand,
visa.
thinking, right, I'm being deported in a minute.
Was Paul naked as well?
No, because he was sensible and probably had a wash before he got on the plane.
Oh, yeah. So you just stank.
Well, yeah, let's blame it on that.
So what happened then? Did you actually get in?
Well, after they'd done this bit, they were like, "Look, we know from you, you're not trying to smuggle anything illegal here." They were just like, "Everything's fine. Put your clothes back on." here's the form, laughing at me as they did it, and they were like, they rang the consulate basically and said the visas will be here in Auckland for you tomorrow.
Wow, close.
Oh, so you got
So
through.
we went through. We did the gigs. We did the gig in Auckland. Then went to Australia and did played for System 6 for their thing called Enchanted Forest. It was like a winter Enchanted Forest that was in winter in Adelaide where it's still warm, but it was in a big school in their gym effectively.
What would have happened if they'd found anything on you, or you know?
I would have been arrested and deported, I'm sure. But I wouldn't. I would never have done that, I'm sure.
No, well, Lisa Lash's, she got 2 pills in her bag by
that was-
accident.
Yeah, I mean that.
You don't know, do you?
If things like that could have happened at that time, you just don't know. But it was, it was nothing like that. It was everything's fine. Off you go.
So, did you take your clothes off, or did somebody take?
I
them
had
off?
to take my clothes
right.
off, yes, but
They
while
did-
they
they
were
took-
there.
Talking of clothes off, and there's a theme here with you in. I think you were in New Zealand again. We were,
Yeah, it
we were
is a
chatting
theme.
earlier,
It is a
having a
theme.
coffee, and you
go
mentioned
on.
something about you in your pants.
It is a theme. So yeah, the last time I've been to New Zealand, a similar thing happened. In that we flew out to Melbourne for the Fever night that was on the Friday night. So I got to Melbourne Thursday night, as you would do, jet lag. I went to bed at 11, awake at 1, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Then I met my friend Lee, who used to live in Adelaide. He'd then moved to Melbourne, and my dad was working in Melbourne at the same time. So we met them, and we just went and got drunk all day because I'd not seen them for a while. And then I did the gig on the Friday night. My dad came to the gig. He was still there at 6 a.m, which was amazing. And then from there went straight to the airport, plane to Auckland. Then because you're going forward in time again, I think it was like 5 o'clock when we got there. Went out for some food and did the London Hard House reunion. The event was absolutely amazing. It was great. That gig, as you know, it's really, really good. And then after that, went back. We just had a bit of a party in the hotel where all of us were staying. I went to bed about 9 o'clock, and then at this point, I'm pretty tired because I've not really been to sleep properly since Thursday, and it was just pure tiredness. And I got up and went to the toilet and got back in bed. To then the cleaners in my room, and I trying to clean the room around me, and I was starting to get a bit agitated because they were like, "Why are you in this room?" And I was like, "Why are you in my room?" And there was a bit of backwards and forwards because I was still a bit asleep, really, to the point that then they were like, "This isn't your room," and I was starting to get really quite angry, going, "Get out my room!" So they've got the manager in, and what I'd done was the toilet door was next to the door where you'd go out of the room, and I'd just walked straight out the room in my pants and got in the bed in the room next door they were cleaning.
Oh.
But then I was that tired I couldn't tell them the room number, and it took the manager about 10 minutes to kind of get me to come round and coax me to go, "This isn't your room," as I eventually wake up and go, "None of my stuff's here." But I couldn't tell him what room I was in. I didn't know. So he marched me down into the hotel foyer in my pants at about 3 p.m.
Oh dear. Terrible
in
scene.
in front of everybody.
Oh no.
And then to go, "Oh, your room number, oh, you're in the room next door." So he took me back upstairs, pushed me in the door, put me to bed. And we all went out and had some drinks and food that night and had a good laugh about it. And I had to get the flight home. I flew home at like 5 a.m. on the next morning. Got up, went to the airport, and I was like, I know I'm tired, but I definitely don't feel very well. I was like, am I just feeling tired? And I got on the plane and had the shits the entire way home.
Oh no.
God.
And I was sat on the window seat and I had to keep climbing home with the same two people the entire flight home. That journey was it was horrendous. And then I was ill for about a week when I got home.
There's
dear.
nothing worse than having the shits on a plane. I mean,
I don't recommend
Having
it.
a shit on a plane.
a shit.
One.
Anything that went in 10 minutes later, it was straight out. I was like, "Oh my god, this is."
I mean, I've been loose before, but never. I've been
on a
loose
plane.
on a plane.
I don't recommend it.
But even a plane from Australia, 22 hours or something.
So were you shitting like every quarter of an hour?
I eventually got to the point that I was just sipping water because I couldn't put anything in me.
So the person next to you must thought
They were the same two people that were there for both flights after we went Auckland, Dubai, London.
Why didn't they sort of say, "Do you know what? You've got a problem. Why don't you sit on the aisle seat?"
Eventually, they went to sleep, and I just had to kind of climb over on the armrests over the top of them. I just spent most of the time in the toilet.
I bet it stank.
It's a great story.
It's great. I thought so too.
That's a good story. You've never had the runs on a plane, have you?
No, I try. I don't think I've ever had a shit on a plane.
You must have. We've been to Australia.
No.
You get bunged up, don't you, in the air because you dehydrate. Well, normally.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it because everyone's watching, aren't they? They're bored. The timing you. He's having a shit.
Have you ever had it off in the
No.
Mile Higher Club?
No, I flirted with a girl in a plane once. There's some heavy petting, let's just say.
Did you know her?
This was Jive Bunny days.
Oh, right. You knew her, though, obviously.
She was
didn't just
the.
Influence.
She was like PR. So yeah, got a bit carried away on a plane.
Oh, we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
So don't go to New Zealand, Australia with Ben Stevens. He'll either shit himself or get stripped.
Oh yeah, I could get stripped. That's it. I like taking my clothes off in New Zealand.
Oh, that's
So let's bring you back to where we are now. So Ben Stevens today. So obviously working with us
Yes.
at Tidy. So what does the world of Ben Stevens look like now for the?
When did that start, Ben? Because I was trying to think. Sam was. Oh, by the way, just before we go to that, I think we must touch on the Parlez-Vous night and
Yes.
and Rave On as well, because those two. Anybody that it leads Bradford. Parlez-Vous was a great night run by you and who?
I didn't run Parlez-Vous. It was Irish Dave.
Irish
It was
Dave had done that.
Irish's night, yeah.
And
So
that was at the place called
at the Mill in Bradford.
We played there quite a lot.
What a gig!
Dirty but great.
Oh, it was amazing. At first, it was like members only. There was no bar. You would bring your own booze to it. As long as it was unopened, you could bring it in. But I remember the very first time we went, we never even found it. Driving around trying to find it because it was just a door on the Mill in Bradford.
Yeah.
But everybody was. The DJ booth finished there, and the crowd were just right in front.
Yeah,
of
they
you.
were.
It was such a great time, and I can't thank Dave enough for that night because I DJ'd once for him, and then he made me resident, and we did every single one, and it was where all of my friends went. We all went to that.
In Bradford, of all
Bradford,
places.
yeah.
I mean, there weren't much else going off in Bradford at the time, so that was the place to go. But any chance, because the Mill's still there, right?
The Mill's still there, yeah. It's open
And
now.
so if Irish Dave comes back from Ireland, maybe a reunion, Parlez-vous reunion.
Dave said that there'll be another Parlez-vous when we rejoin the EU.
Oh, really?
That's what he said.
So that's not on the cards then.
At the moment, it's not on the cards, no. But
Yeah, and so what happened? Rave On, just briefly talk about that, because that was a great night in Leeds.
yeah, so Parlez-vous was coming to an end. Dave didn't want to do it so much anymore on his own, but we were like, well, we could run a night between four of us. So Dave, Sam Townend, Dino, and I all started running a night called Rave On at Stinky's Peep House in Leeds, which again was an iconic venue really, for Leeds, and it kind of worked a bit better in that we all had various different skills that we could use, and we never made a load of money because it was four people, but there was a good night where we made £1 each.
Yeah.
But then we never really lost a whole load of money each because it was split between us.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, they were great times.
oh yeah, there was some bad fancy dress themes, though, weren't there? There was obviously there was one where you had to bring some fruit to get in for £1 off.
Well, you could bring a root vegetable and you got £1 off.
The bad taste nights, they were quite bad,
So
weren't
the
they?
bad taste, we did a couple of bad taste balls where we encouraged people to dress up in
But that was
the worst taste possible, like Jimmy Savile.
Adolf
Someone came
Hitler.
as a tsunami.
Someone came as a period.
Yeah, well, yeah, they did.
Yeah,
They were
covered in blood, weren't they?
walking through Leeds City
It
Centre.
was quite bad taste.
That one. We did that. I think that was probably the last one we did at Stinky's, and we later found out that the people that were running the venue didn't own the venue or have the license for it anymore, and so there was no license for that. They shouldn't have had music outside. It was really loud. You could hear it in Leeds City Centre.
They've just knocked it down, by the way.
They have. It's gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah, only this year.
But that was they were great times. It was a really good thing to do with a great group of friends.
So you've been a promoter, so you've been obviously geography teacher, DJ, husband, and a promoter. It's tough, isn't it, being a promoter?
It is, and I would not recommend doing it on your own.
Yeah, it's tough, but
It's hard.
At least you've done it. So you've had to rave on, and then, like I said, Andy's question: when did you get involved with us at Tidy? I can't remember the year.
So-
I would 2014.
When I started working with you guys, what we're doing now, I think it was like 2018.
2018,
Yeah,
yeah. But
right.
we were touching base before that, weren't we? Yeah.
We'd kind of worked with each other. I'd done music for the record label. Obviously, when Sam was working at Music Factory, we did quite a lot of stuff
Yeah.
then. I mean, the first interactions with the business would have been me taking Vicious Circle stuff to Sean for the shop, for the Tidy shop.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, Sam rang me and just said, can you just come and have a meeting, have a chat about you wanting to kind of relicense all the Tidy catalogue and get it on the streaming sites. And I love spreadsheets and contracts.
You do, don't you? You
I
do.
love spreadsheet, yeah.
You're a bit of you're a bit geeky deep down, I think, aren't you?
I wish I was a geek about something that wasn't catalogue numbers and things like that, and I had a bit more knowledge about other stuff, but I do like Hard House and I do like music, yeah.
But so I think me and Sam back 2018 brought you in because you were sensible, good looking, did spreadsheets, and also, like you said, relicensing the catalogue, because streaming, although Spotify had been around, it didn't really get traction until I would say 2016. It really, and then we brought you in that because we knew that Tidy needed to stream and get download, and be with your experience on Toolbox and everything else, you were the right man for the job.
I think I just know a lot of the people as well from doing that. So
Of course you
it
do.
was an easy kind of not an easy thing to do, but you've not got somebody that they don't know who it is receiving an email saying. "I wanna
And
do
you
this."
are, I would say, in the world of Hard House, you're a very liked and trusted individual.
Well, I would hope so. I hope I'm fair with people.
You
You
are.
are. You even John the dentist, you get on with him.
John's good. He's just one of those people that you've got to talk to in the right way, and then
Exactly.
then everything's all
but
right.
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. You're like a diplomat when it comes
He's
to
like a
life.
diplomat.
He's like a diplomat.
I'd say he's like the special envoy.
I'd rather be a diplomat than a politician that will never
Yeah.
will never.
But you can
into
calm
anything.
waters.
But you've got I think that's what all kind of business
And people
is about,
like you.
isn't it? It's about
Have you met? I mean,
No,
what you know? What
no,
I'm
I've
saying?
never met anybody that doesn't like Ben Stevens.
No, and we
I've met a lot of people who don't like you.
loads. There's some people who hate me.
Marmite.
And of course, the same with you. But of course, I've done a poll, a survey, and 150 people took part, and only one person said they were unsure.
Oh dear, was that Maria?
It was. It was your wife. But everybody else said, no, he's lovable. I like him. So you came into Tidy in 2018, been part of the team, obviously working in Leeds when we had the offices there.
Yep.
Now we're in Wakefield, and things have got even busier for you, haven't they? Because Andy said, stop doing that. I want you to do that.
Well, it's kind of just progressed more from just doing a bit of licensing on the side to helping with more of the record label side of everything, to then doing the label management and putting the compilations together and the
Yeah, I've got
physicals.
one here, Ben. Yeah, I mean, for the people that are watching rather than listening, if you're listening, that's a CD. I just, but all the licensing we do for the albums you put together. So yeah, we may mix it, I may do the sleeve, make it look pretty, but all the licensing and the hard work behind the USBs on the Tidy Track store, the albums, and now the vinyl. You literally do all that, don't you, Ben?
I do now, yeah. So when I obviously started with you, Sam was doing some of that and I was doing some of it, and then Sam moved on to just looking solely at the event side of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great job. You guys are great to work with. Everybody here that works at Music Factory and Pure Energy, it's a good team of people, and it never, well, it doesn't always feel like work. When it's stressful
good.
and
When
something's
it's
not
good,
going
it's
right,
good.
then it's difficult.
And yeah, I mean, I've just got, again, for people watching, the other thing that's boomed as well, we do compilations, we do USBs.
Yep.
My favourite USB actually is yours, The Cream of Ben Stevens.
There you go. I love the name.
Because we did a series where we got all producers to put the whole catalogue and all their works together, and we've done, people like Flash Howery, Rob Tessera, Paul Maddox. But I think yours is the biggest USB with the most amount of music on. I think it's either yours or.
Like I said, there is that 3-year period where there's a lot of stuff that's not very good.
Tell us, Ben. Tell us.
So if you do want the cream of Ben Stevens, you go to tidytracks.co.uk and his USB's on there, and you can even Dreamers on there.
It is on there, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also what we've been doing recently, as well as the compilations, we've moved back to vinyl. We've been licensing and producing this vinyl. And again, if you are watching on the YouTube, I've got a lovely the YouTube. If you're watching on the YouTube or the Facebook, look at this. If for people at home who are listening, I've just pulled out a lovely transparent piece of vinyl. We've just relaunched Synapse, which came out in 2004, 20-year anniversary, and we've just put a Synapse vinyl out, which is beautiful. Join the Vinyl Club. I don't think there's many spaces left, though, is there,
There's
Ben?
10 at the moment for this month. But there will be a waiting list if anybody does want to join in the coming months. But yeah, I'm very happy with how that's gone. It was a risk, I would say. There was a bit of backwards and forwards about whether to go for it, but everybody's got involved in it, and it's just great to have that format back again.
It's a subscription service at Tidy Tracks where you can join a vinyl club, and every month you get a new and an old AA side of. We don't press stuff that we've previously pressed. It's all stuff that's not been pressed, or it's new releases, and they're all on coloured vinyl as well. So for the vinyl club, go to tidytracks.co.uk. So you're a busy man behind the scenes. That's what I wanted to put across.
Yeah.
You're not just pretty face, nice hair, good DJ. You are spreadsheet man. Does all this licensing, takes care of us, doesn't he? And now he's working in other parts of the company as well, aren't you? Because you're doing.
I am, yes,
Pure Energy.
which is very exciting to be part of Pure Energy as well.
Yeah, which Andy talks about drops in most weeks, which
Ben's
in a soundbite Pure Energy
An
is.
important cog in the Pure Energy wheel is Ben.
What is Pure Energy? That soundbite again. That for people that don't know what Pure Energy Go is.
We have the ultimate fitness music app. We provide curated music for some of the biggest club chains in the country, like David Lloyd. So yeah, we make incredible music for fitness.
And a lot of the hard house producers have been producing the music,
Including you.
100%. I mean, during the pandemic, it kept a lot of us going.
Yeah,
It got music into the business, but it also kept, because all of us went, right, what happens now?
You produced some hardcore and rave stuff, didn't
Did
you,
for that,
the
yeah.
Pure Energy?
Yeah, you've got quite a fair catalogue on Pure Energy. Yeah.
So we always ask this towards the end of the conversation, Ben. Is there anything you'd like to ask the Tidy Boys? So far, people have said not really, but I'm sure you've done your research and you've got a great question for me and Andy.
What's the least favourite record you've produced?
Us as all Tidy Boys.
What have you two?
Whether we've made ourselves.
We've got a lot of shit in the
It's got
catalogue.
to have been released, that's the thing.
Oh, well, there's a lot of shit in there, Andy, when you go back to the blue-orange days.
Well, there's the Tidy Boys tracks, but there's also stuff we've made under pseudonyms because we did all the Two in a Tent stuff. I think probably the Blue Orange track was probably the worst record we ever made.
Yeah.
Which was with the guy who did Marty Pello on Stars in Their Eyes.
Okay.
So we did I'll call it a dance version of Love Is All Around. So if you actually go search that on YouTube, you might even see a video of us on it's the most horrific thing I think we've ever done. It was on a kids' TV show in Bristol. I can't remember what it was called now.
No.
But we performed it live with John Finch. And it was just a really bad dance record.
It was really
a cover version of Love Is All Around, and we're both pretending to play keyboards.
They're not plugged in, and you can see that.
They shouldn't be.
And we did an interview.
But they made us wear these satin shirts.
We had
didn't
satin shirts on.
they? He had orange, and I had blue, so we blue orange. I'm a little bit fatter, and I look like a big fat queen playing this keyboard. I look like a bad erasure, and it's early in the morning, and we're just playing. John Finch is miming. It's rubbish.
Oh, it's terrible. So that's the answer. So it is out there on Discogs.
You can get it on CD.
Blue Orange, Love Is All Around.
Yeah.
And that was, what year was that?
That would have been just before Tidy Tracks, 1994.
It's a shocker, Ben.
Maybe the video needs to go on the end of the podcast.
Yeah, so look it up. Now, I have a question for you, and you'll enjoy this. And so you've got an illustrious DJ and production career. So you are now going to plant yourself in a club. So it's one club you can choose to play at, and you're going to play 3 records. It's kind of what you're starting with, what's your big middle track, and what you're going to end with. So 3 tracks, and you can only choose one club to play. It's kind of like your death row situation. It's your last meal type thing.
Utopian.
Utopian.
For club, it would have to be Parlez-Vous. But there are venues that are better to DJ in, but if I was to do nothing ever again, ever in my life,
This is it.
but I could go and do that, it would definitely be.
So
Parlez-Vous.
opening track.
There's too many of these. That's the problem.
You've got to play the game, Ben.
Oh no, I'll play the game.
So you're going to open with one track. You're reaching into the box, and you're thinking, what am I going to play in my final ever gig at Parlez-Vous?
There's a track that, like a kind of early-ish one that Steve Thomas did called "Put Your House in Order."
Oh,
They
yeah.
did with Tin Rib that I love. That in fact was that not on the
It
trade
was on the
EP?
trade EP, yeah.
So there you go. So that's what I would kind of start with.
Get the party
Get
going.
the party going. Put your house
That
in
I
order.
would start with. The middle of the night for me would be Exit E, Epidemic. I did some factor mix of that.
Yeah.
Banger.
And the end would be RR Fierce Panic.
Lovely choice.
RFS, my favourite is the. Is it Neuronics?
Yeah. The Nick Sentience one.
Nick Sentience remix. That is my favourite hard ass track of all time.
Oh, it's an amazing track. Yeah.
But that's a good selection. Parlez-Vous, which is the mill in Bradford.
Yeah, it would only be pleasing me. I don't think they would please everybody else there.
Well, that's the point. That's the point.
But it is to please you.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it would be that if I could go and DJ once ever again in my life, it would be there just because of the
Memories.
the atmosphere and the memories of it. Yeah.
I think we could try and convince Irish Dave to do one, despite the EU nonsense.
We've been trying for quite a long time.
Would he do it for a lot of money? Maybe.
Oh, I'm sure he'd do it for a lot of money.
I'm going to try. I'm going to do a GoFundMe to get Parlez-Vous back.
Yeah.
But only on the condition that we can play.
Well, there you go.
A local gig for you, wasn't it?
yeah, local gig, down the road. Yeah, we played there a few times.
So we should be called not Parlez-Vous but Deja Vu.
Well, that's what he has done one of those. Yeah.
They
They were the classics nights.
Ah, right. Well, we think that should happen.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you for joining us because, like I said, I know you're part of the team, but I think people want to. I think a lot of people have never heard you speak.
Quite possibly.
They've looked at you, they've probably seen you across the
away.
dance floor and they've seen you whisper to other friends, but they've never heard your voice.
A lot of takeaways I've got from this. I didn't realise you were a sailing buff.
Yeah.
Didn't realise your joy for geography, and didn't realise about your obsession with being naked in New
It's not an
Zealand.
obsession. I'd rather it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, in your pants.
Or shitting on a plane for
Well,
about.
it's got better because I was actually in my pants the last time. Yeah.
Yeah. Cock and balls out.
Good stories. Thank you very much, Ben. So thanks to Ben Stevens for joining us. He is in the office most of the week, so we've only brought him from downstairs to up, so he's not travelled very far. But thank you very much to Ben. And if you do want the cream of Ben Stevens, and we all love that,
We'd all love the cream of Ben Stevens.
then go to tidytracks.co.uk. We'll be back very soon with another guest. We've got to try and find somebody as good looking and as nice as Ben. That'll be a task, won't it?
Enjoyed that.
As soon as we do, we'll be back. Thanks for watching. We're the Tidy Boys. Bye.
Nice one,
Well,
that.
good. Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Good length as well.
Some nice little takeaways there for the edit.
The edit, yeah.
There I am with the cock and balls out. I think is a natural starting point.
I just remember the just sitting down in the machine beeping, and Glaz was just howling in the corner because it had happened to him before. And he was like, I know what's coming here.
We've never been stripped.
But they didn't go up your arse.
No, there wasn't anything like that. No.